find something that you're willing to obsess over. That's the most important part to this sort of hunting. Then just day in and day out, you're going to go hunt that deer. You don't give up hunting that deer. You don't you don't you don't think, well, maybe this other, until you know that that deer has either been killed or maybe is for sure gone. Maybe you've gone 2 weeks and you haven't seen the deer. Then maybe you're going to change something. But so you're ultra obsessive. You find him scouting, and then you spend every waking moment on the mountain hunting that deer. In my particular case, I've got to use alternate methods because for the most part, where I found those big deer, you can't spot and stalk them. So I utilize ambush hunting. I've hunted bucks out of tree stands, ambush, pinch points, light bumps, light wind bumps. You and I talked about that a little bit. And so a lot of that comes in. So here on the front, I scout. I have two terms. I macro scout. So I take big optics, BTX 115, ATX 115, and I've got these strategic glassing points where I can see into multiple basins. And then I identify frames, and then I move in and get a closer look. I've been doing that for 10 years. So I'm not the guy that's got the cleanest, best phone scope of every deer, right? Because I'm glassing them from 3 miles away. But I know with just how busy I am, I can't go micro glass every individual basin, right? I just got to figure it out because I can't be on the mountain every day. So once I find that deer, I go and make sure that's the one, and then I'm focused on it. I know his route. So what I try to optimize is the number of opportunities. And when I say opportunities, for me on the Wasatch Front, I found that it's just a morning gig. The evenings kind of suck. So I want to optimize the number of mornings that I'm in position on that deer. So that's where with my job on the front, being able to be up there the most mornings that I can is very effective. So it's very much like this. You figure out where they're living, you kind of figure out his pattern. But here on the front also, there's so much pressure that after the opening weekend, their pattern kind of shifts because of all the pressure. So, but you're still putting yourself in that position. You're still up there. And having a buddy that can come up and help glass for you once you find him, or come lightly bump him, that stuff speaks volumes. But it's this war of attrition for me on these deer that I've killed because, again, I can't. Very rarely will I spot a deer, put it to bed, and stalk him. For one, that literally just doesn't happen very much because of our terrain and our thickness, and then also because of the hunting pressure. Similar to Arizona, where I can't quite do this war of attrition. In Arizona, I start out on the biggest, gnarliest peak, and I pull out the big glass, and I'm looking for, and this is a rut hunt, right? So I'm just looking for deer, and then there's a bunch of deer over there. Then I'll kind of point hop over to that better spot, and then I'll kind of hone in. So I've killed a number of pretty good deer. That one, he doesn't look giant from below, but that's a 170-inch 3-point. And it's a desert deer. That's a big 3-point. That's probably my second. No, not probably. That's my second favorite buck because of just the amount of time. And I've killed four or five bucks that score better than him. But that deer just, so it was Arizona, out of state. We were grinding for the first 6 days of the hunt, and then we found him, and then we focused, and to the much gratitude to my friend, he let me continue to stalk this deer, even though we were swapping days on stalks. And anyway, so after 3 or 4 days of hunting that deer, finally got him killed. But it was the same thing, like macro glassing, finally found him, turned micro, and then just war of attrition, just trying to be, in this particular case, And I find it happen a lot on the rut. Once deer kind of group up in the rut, they start behaving more like elk. That lead doe will feed with her nose into the wind, kind of more on rutting grounds, right? It's not so much big mountain country. There, it's more just thermals, but rut type hunts, they'll behave like elk. They'll feed into the wind. So it's really hard. It can be really hard to stalk in on a bedded buck because he's probably surrounded by does. And think about this. So if you're stalking in on a group of deer, um, and you're waiting for them to stand up, right? Maybe you can't get a shot in his bed. Um, you're coming at it basically if they're facing into the wind, so you're coming at his butt, right? Well, if they get up to move and they're going to feed into the wind, they're going to get up and feed straight away from you. You know how many times I've heard that I was in position 40 yards from the deer, but he stood up and just fed straight away. Well, he's feeding into the wind with the deer, right? So you're better off, if you can't shoot the buck in his bed, you're better off to get 90 degrees to him and wait for him there because the group's going to feed into the wind. And then you do it just like it's classic elk hunting, not calling type situation. You kind of dog that herd until he's on the periphery, and then you got to be close enough that you can take advantage of that opportunity. And that's how I killed this deer after 4 days of doing it. So it's just this war of attrition that sooner or later they're going to make a mistake, but you need to be in position for that lucky opportunity to happen. So that, for the most part, that's how I've killed all of my really good animals, with the exception of one. I've got like 190-inch, a whitetail frame 3x4. I killed the second day of the hunt. We did a little bump, and he pushed on an escape route that I had seen him on. In fact, it was the same trail that I glassed him up on that morning. Was in position, made a really good shot, and shout out to my good friend Ty Glenn. He helped me kill that deer, as he has helped me kill several deer. And anyway, but yeah, the war of attrition. So does that kind of
No,
your
that's no,
question? But
it's good, and I like how you explain the macro and the micro, because like I can relate that again going back to whitetail just because that's what I'm familiar with. But like, so for us here, in the east in the Appalachian Mountains, you can't really glass or be able to see. So I'll do a lot of times with cameras. Like I'll go to these different areas that look good from a map, have the vegetation diversity and cover I'm looking for, and I'll start throwing cameras in these different spots. Maybe just a few out, and then once I collect that data, it's like, okay, here's a buck worth going after or something I want to go, and now I'm going to start putting more cameras in there and maybe start looking
yeah,
and trying to identify tracks in different spots and trying to really start honing in on those spots versus just either going all in on one spot from the beginning, or just like kind of starting broad and then narrowing it down as it
yep,
goes.
and narrow down. That's my scouting approach. And even if I'm in a unit that I'm not scouting, that's my hunting approach. So that's Arizona, right? Like I go down there with very limited time. So Brody's the customer service manager for Western Hunter. I love Brody. He's a great guy. He picked me up from the airport in our Arizona hunt this year. We had 5 days. And in 5 days, so I killed that buck in
Okay.
2022. So 2023, so a few months ago, so January of this year, went down there for 5 days. Same thing. Uh, Started out glassing like 30 square miles from one giant peak, and then kind of just hopped and honed in on our spot. And we hunted, and I stalked and almost killed, was within 100 yards. A different buck had come through and kind of busted up the herd, and they escaped out of the saddle before I get a shot. But I hunted a 193-inch 4-point. He was killed by a local whose dad actually had sent an arrow through no man's land on the buck, and the buck survived. Anyway, come January, the son was able to start hunting, and while I was there, I didn't know it, but we continued to hunt that buck for 3 more days, and uh, the last day he was actually already dead, but I didn't find out to the end of the hunt. But kind of the same thing. You just start out really macro, and then identify what you're going to do, and then So a lot of times that's really important, right? So Arizona, you can actually do some spot and stalking from a terrain perspective because you don't you may lose them for a second, but for the most part you don't lose them completely like our forest
Yep.
here. So you can stalk in on a deer that's bedded. The problem with that is oftentimes they're surrounded by does and so you can't get in. And in that situation, if you can't shoot him in his bed, I kind of like to get that 90 degrees to him. Maybe just into the wind a little bit, 90 degrees, so that you can be in a better position when he stands up, and then feeds towards you, right? Not feeds towards you, but feeds. You're kind of doing. He's going this way, and you're
Yeah.
doing this way. You're
Yeah, kind of at an
perpendicular.
angle trying to run into him
Yeah,
essentially.